Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special edition episode starring Joseph because we missed him in season 4. So everyone welcome Joseph. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
This is our spoiler review for
Very
Spider-Man,
spoiler.
even though it's already been kind of spoiled, but not everything was revealed. I found some surprises. So Joseph is going to lead this review. So Joseph, take it away.
Okay. So of course, the movie we're talking about is probably the biggest one of the year so far. I mean, the year's almost over. So that movie is Spider-Man: No Way Home, which was pretty much all saw this weekend. So I guess we'll start off saying that I really love this movie. Dare I say the best Spider-Man movie? Well, that's debatable. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse is always great, and I more lean towards the MCU Spider-Man, to be honest with you. So films like Far From Home and Homecoming are up higher on my list, even though I also love the first two Raimi Spider-Man movies. But this one was really good, and I just had a blast. It was a theater experience that I'll never forget. And I want to also hear your thoughts. Let's start off with Spider-Man right there. Hey, Tony.
Oh, I can breathe. Hello, all.
So scary. I hate it. Don't do that again.
How often do you get to wear this mask and celebrate Spider-Man?
Every 5 years when a new Spider-Man is born.
It's true. It's true. Though I think we're going to stick with Holland for a while, as we'll probably get to. I love this movie. I was skeptical. I think Constance is on the same path, maybe other council members, about just what this movie could accomplish. And because I feel like with other big event movies, especially within the MCU, there wasn't this kind of like grab bag type of approach, but it at no point felt that way. This whole narrative felt so earned. It felt so controlled throughout the entire film. I never felt like the movie was unwieldy. I thought why that worked was because Tom Holland was precisely at the center of the movie at all times, which was a choice that I thought they weren't going to do, and they did it. And I applaud them for doing it. I've seen the movie 5 times. I have plans to go back. I love this movie. I think it's brilliant. It's one of the top 5 best MCU chapters that has come out. And I'm so excited to talk about this movie with all of you here.
Very good. Kyle?
Yes, I agree. I really love this movie a lot. It's not perfect. I gave it like a 9 out of 10, but it's very close. So I too also dressed for the occasion. So I mean, that was my favorite part, for sure. And I mean, we can go into the details and everything, but yeah, there's just so much about this that I love. Do I sound okay?
It was rough in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sound different than you normally do.
Okay. Still?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on the phone, you know?
It sounds like popcorn.
Interesting. Okay.
Good luck.
Let me try to fix that.
It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So while he fixes that, Natalia, you want to?
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Yes.
You just saw it, right?
Thoughts. Quick thoughts. I liked it a lot. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I was in the beginning of the first few minutes of the movie. I was kind of iffy about it. I was really apprehensive going in because I didn't know, and I was like really scared about how they were going to do this like big. It was massive. It was a giant movie, but I really did enjoy it. For me, the outside of the obvious, the standouts, Jamie Foxx surprised me. He looked like he was having a lot of fun. This was like his redemption, and I was really happy for him. I will talk more about everyone's favorite, Mr. Willem Dafoe. He rocked. That's all I'm gonna say on that right now. Yeah, really liked it. Very good. Yeah, the beginning was a little iffy for me, but as it went along, I got on board. Yeah.
Constance?
Well, my feeling is relief. The more I tried to hear nothing about this movie, but the longer it took for it to come out, the easier it was to stumble upon things or hear things or see things. So I was relieved. I went in going, it's going to be too much. They're putting in too many characters. And is this going to be Tom's movie? You know, I didn't want the focus to be pulled so much that people go, if this is the Spider-Man you like, I was worried that people were like, great, now it's all about all these other people. And it's not really about him, because the complaint with the other two movies has been, oh, he's the Iron Spider. It's really Tony's movie, blah, 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 you know. So I felt bad for those fans. So I was worried that this was going to be more of that, but I don't think it is. So I think they handled it very well. I have issues with it too, but they're small compared to what I think is good. So it's definitely leaning towards, hey, you really knocked it out of the park, because this could have been a big mess, a really big mess, because other franchises that are trying to do similar things of like, hey, remember this? Don't you love this? And they have fallen really flat. I was like, oh no, now Spider-Man's going to do it. And it didn't. So I'm happy, relieved. That's the word.
Right. A perfect example would probably be Rise of Skywalker. Right. That was like fan service, the movie. And well, I didn't like the movie. I'm pretty sure some of you liked Rise of Skywalker.
Hey, Antony, do you like the movie?
I do. I've come around. But I mean, Joseph, just the other Spider-Man movies, like, as much as I know I love all the Spider-Man movies, but a lot of people had issues with Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that's by putting too many villains. Here we get 5 villains.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it
works out.
Another one you could probably compare to would probably be Infinity War / Endgame. Like, can they pull this one off with so many characters? And kudos to the Russo brothers, they pulled it off. And I could say it's the same for John Watts, who's gotten way better, like, with each installment.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see his Fantastic Four. I think they'll knock that out of the park.
Yeah.
All right, so
real quick, does it sound better now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
Okay, good. Should I repeat what I said or no? No, let's just
no.
carry on.
Well, no.
We could understand you. It just had that, like,
Okay.
you're on
It
a
was,
phone back in the 90s where it's like, I'm going through a tunnel, you know.
I was on my AirPods, I think. I'm on my microphone now. So
Oh yeah, that
You sound
usually
great.
is it. Yeah. Do we go into a deep dive now?
sure.
Who goes? Do I go?
lead the way, Joseph.
It's
Okay,
your
so-
episode, buddy.
It's been a while. Give him a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't scare him.
been a while. Okay, so I guess this is now the spoiler discussion, I guess.
Super spoilers.
Super spoilers. Spider spoilers. Okay, what scene should we talk about first? I was like,
Up to you.
okay, trying to remember the movie.
You haven't seen it 5 times like Antony.
I
You haven't memorized it.
Ingrained in my head.
All I have to say is, once again, Matt Murdock.
Charlie!
Let's talk about him.
Matt Murdock. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys heard me, but I'm dressed for the occasion.
Right.
My favorite part of the movie by far.
Right, it's great to see Charlie Cox back.
You need a really good lawyer.
Yeah, and he's a really great lawyer.
Good lawyer.
To all headphone listeners, I apologize for Natalia's shriek.
Kyle, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I thought of you when that scene was over, and I was waiting for him to come back, and he didn't. And I was like, and I brought this up last time. Was that enough of him, or were you like, now I want more? Like,
Oh,
I want
yeah,
to know
that-
how satisfying
Yeah.
that was.
It was because
He
that is what I
was in the final battle as Daredevil.
didn't
Spider-Man and
honestly
Daredevil.
No.
No,
I didn't even expect that. Because I think I knew that was going to be his only scene because I mean,
You
this
need a
entire
lawyer.
movie, this entire movie has been pretty. I mean, I love this movie a lot, but I will say that, like, it's very predictable. So I didn't expect him, and that's also due to the fact that it's been spoiled so much at this point up until its release. So I think I did know that was the only scene he was going to be in. So my expectations weren't that high. You know, if you expect disappointment, then you'll never actually be disappointed.
Oh.
Nice.
Well, that
I
line,
want to
yeah.
piggyback off of your Maddie comment. He was very good. There was a couple next to me that had the exact same reaction as I did when he showed up. We were just like, yeah, Charlie. And I really liked it because we got to see the lawyer Matt Murdock, which not a whole lot of people go and watch Daredevil for. So I really like that we got that, and we still got some eyes on fire sort of shit when he caught the brick. So that was good. He got a really nice haircut. Really, he cleaned up for the occasion, and we like that.
I mean,
dressed up
for Daredevil fans, I mean, this is the first time that we don't have to like wait. Like we know he's going to be in more MCU stories.
Yeah.
So I feel like we don't need him more in this. I think it was a great way to just put him in there. It's what Marvel does great. I mean, when you read the original like 60s comics, like Human Torch will just walk through a Spider-Man comic as Spider-Man swinging, and then they'll say, check out Fantastic Four number 33. And like, that's it. So that's what this kind of evoked. It's just, we're going to put this character in here. This is the benefit of the MCU, is that we don't have to give every character like screen time throughout the whole movie. They could just pop in, be really great, catch a brick that's misspelled, which I thought was a funny gag, is that the people who were mad at Peter Parker didn't know how to spell believe. They misspelled it. So I thought that scene was great. And just seeing like everybody get really excited about it, I also thought was pretty cool. And I'm very happy for so many people in this movie that they get to feel the love that people have for them. And we'll talk about that more later, but he was one that I was actually very happy, because I feel like he never got a movie. And so you, especially when you're behind Netflix, like you never really know how much people like actually paid attention to you. This was a nice way to honor Charlie Cox and the world of Daredevil on Netflix.
Yeah, and we know with Hawkeye, I mean, if you haven't been watching, then spoilers.
Vincent D'Onofrio, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Baby!
We know that these characters are coming back, and just as we remember them, basically. So it's very exciting. So I mean, this is like all within the last week. We've gotten so much as Daredevil fans, so it's very exciting.
We're eating good. We're eating kids.
Great.
And we're going to see more of him. He's going to be in Echo. He's going to be in She-Hulk.
Yep.
Disney Plus, please give him a series.
He's here to stay.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of Matt Murdock. Okay. You guys want to talk about the villains?
Which one?
All 5 of them? Like from your least favorite to least favorite?
Favorite to least favorite? Okay.
I'm pretty sure Green Goblin.
Green Goblin is number 1.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh.
Is it crazy?
Descent.
Is it crazy for me to think that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin maybe is the best MCU villain?
Yeah, he's now an MCU.
Good for him. As he should. He
He
ate that shit up, man.
He did.
He stole every scene, even when he was like trying to be all like meek and scared and everything. Delicious.
I will say, when he broke his Green Goblin's mask, I thought maybe that was disservice to the character of Green Goblin, but the more I think about it, I think it was a better decision to have Willem Dafoe's face.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that was a better decision.
You could see all the crazy in his eyes.
When Tom Holland is just in the apartment fight, he's just punching his face.
And he's like great.
Oh my God, it was so good. And the one thing about this movie that I think was maybe lacking from the other Spider-Man movies is that you really felt the gravitas, the brutalness of Spider-Man in this movie. And that fight and the last fight,
the apartment complex?
Yeah, the apartment complex fight specifically, there was just like, as they went through walls and down floor, and the part when Spider-Man just like whips away the glass on the window, like there was a brutalness and a gravitas and like an intensity.
You could feel every punch and every like bang down each floor.
That you usually don't get. I feel like you don't get a lot in superhero movies and these big budget movies. Like you feel every punch, which I really appreciated.
Even the way like right at the moment where he like swings the glass away and then he pops out of the building, even the way he like plops onto the building, I was like, oh yeah, poor guy, like he's in so much pain.
He's bleeding all over the face, his eye is red.
I know, right?
Yeah,
his poor eye, it was just that one, it was poor kid.
And I also say this is one of the things I really love about the movie. The more I see it, the more I see these thematic layers, is that I really love what they did in terms of exploring the differences between Norman and the Green Goblin, because I find that they mirror that in the differences between Peter and Spidey, especially in the last fight when he's picking up, oh my God, I don't know about you, but the first time he picks up the glider and you're like, oh my
He's gonna stab
God.
the hell out of Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, not only is it a perfect, like, full circle ending because the movie starts with this whole idea that Spider-Man murdered Mysterio and now he's about to murder Goblin.
Another green and purple villain.
Yes. But there's just these little things like when the J. Jonah Jameson scene in the rain, when you can see Tom Holland beautifully performs this scene where you kind of realize that he's hearing these words about how Spider-Man is hurting the innocents. And Peter Parker believes that's true about Spider-Man and that he almost has a split personality, just like Green Goblin and Norman. So I think having him be the villain in this movie really, really worked. And then we'll talk about more how Toby works into that moment too by catching the glider later. But having Norman be the main villain of this movie was so great because it surprises you. Like he's not advertised as such.
No.
And when the turn happens, it feels so spontaneous and thus it doesn't feel like convoluted. It doesn't feel contrived. It feels genuine.
I like the way the turn happened. It was kind of like as if you were underwater and you were just like hearing the kind of like of everything with the Spidey senses and then the I loved it.
The spider sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Again, sorry, headphone users. We get really loud when we're excited.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that was
there are more other villains. I mean, Doc Ock, Sandman.
Oh, Alfred Molina, my beloved.
Yeah, but Sandman and Doc Ock weren't villains for very long.
No.
You know?
Doc Ock was really quick to get out, and I really like that. Sandman, he was good. He felt like one of the
why had to be Stan throughout the majority of the movie, like the scene where he's in Happy's apartment. Like, I don't know why he can't turn back into Thomas Hayden Church. That was a little nitpick for me, but
I mean, I think if you see him turn back into Thomas Hayden Church, it kind of ruins what they're trying to do thematically about curing the villains.
Which is curing everyone.
Was he able to do that? I can't remember. Was he able to turn back into? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, forgot about that.
I mean, I did like the part where he sat down on the couch and he's like,
and then it was like,
oh.
Yeah.
I mean, he may be more comfortable as like the Sandman, or like it's like who he is, and he finds power within it, kind of like the Green Goblin thing. Like these are gifts. Type of thing. I agree, Joseph. That was but I think what they do with Sandman is like he only wants to get home to see his family, and he doesn't believe that Peter will actually do that because, again,
that's the kid.
He saw Doc Ock die. He saw Green Goblin die, which of course we'll talk about. So many things to talk about. That
was so good.
But also Doc Ock being kind of cured first. It's the penance for that amazing bridge fight, which is basically solely him, which is so good. Him, Paula Newsome, who was the MIT lady, and Tom Holland did a great job with that sequence.
Jimmy Foxx, I agree with Natalia. I think he was better here than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Poor guy in the original. That was terrible. I keep saying this is his redemption. He was treated so badly in the first one. It was so sad.
Well, going back to Iron Man stuff in Spider-Man MCU movies, I'm surprised no one's mad about him using the arc reactor. Like, did no one realize that?
I mean, yeah, but I didn't care.
Yeah, I think it worked, narratively.
Narratively, yeah.
I really liked his line where him and Sandman were talking, and they're like, "Oh, I fell into a super collider." He's like, "Oh, I fell into a vat of eels." And he's like, "You gotta be careful where you fall." I was like, that's so good. Yeah, he was really great in this movie. Like, just his little one-liners were perfect every time.
What? You're gonna act like I'm not butt-ass naked?
Yeah. Exactly.
Of course, we're forgetting Lizard. I think that he's the least developed of the villains.
Yeah.
He's just stuck as a lizard.
I always forget that he's like, that we had a lizard, Yeah.
Well, but I still think he had a lot of fun lines, like, "No way, that's his girlfriend." No, like that was cool. Yeah. And then when he says his first line, it's like, "It wasn't crazy, Max. It was the next step of human evolution." And Ned goes, "The dinosaur can talk." Like, he had some fun bits, and I like that none of the villains like stepped on each other's tails. No fun, lizard. Like they all had a different function, and they all nobody felt redundant out of the five of them. Which for Spider-Man villains, you know, I think you could have had.
You can only do so much.
Yeah. So I thought that was great.
I think the reason why it works because they're already developed in their own movies, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they're introduced in this movie.
Yeah, that is one thing though about like I guess just the storyline in general is like I guess the rules of the magic in this movie were kind of I don't think they were defined as well as they could have been, because I didn't understand exactly why all of these villains, because I think if I understand correctly, they went into the MCU before the moment they die, like right before the moment they die, and this is them like moments before they die. Like why exactly at that point are they being transferred to another universe?
I don't think the movie never says specifically why, like, for example, like why in Raimi's universe did we pull Toby from like current day?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why do we have old ass Toby?
Yeah. I mean, they do never explain it. They do say that the people who come in because these are people, they squeak through first thing. Doctor Strange says they squeak through. So it's not like they're like this, like,
the movie.
Yeah, I've memorized
because they know that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Yeah. I mean, that's like, yeah. Yeah, but that was also too like my question is, yeah, because it's supposed to be like current day Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but also just based on their conversations, it felt like time really hadn't passed, because I mean they were like comparing villains and everything, and I don't know, to me it would have been nicer to hear about like villains that we hadn't seen, just so we knew that like they went on with their lives, or that they were, you know, that they continue to be Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Along with the villains going into the new world. What Earth are we on for this one? Fuck if I know. The MCU for the MCU one. Tom Hardy, Venom. He was the only like kind of notch in that didn't fit with everything, which makes sense as to why they put him in the end with Danny Rojas.
My theory with that is that the same Venom symbiote that attacked Toby and Topher Grace also is the same Venom that maybe attached itself to Tom Hardy, and that's the Venom symbiote knew who Peter Parker was. It doesn't make sense why Tom Hardy's in this.
There was a little Venom goop at the end in Mexico with Danny Rojas. I'm gonna keep calling him Danny Rojas because that's how I know him from Ted Lasso. I was so happy when I saw him. I was like, Danny Rojas.
Yeah. So or maybe it's because the Venom symbiote, like maybe it's not the same Venom symbiote, but it originated from the same place, and therefore it, you know, has a shared consciousness. I don't know.
Interdimensional
magic.
I'm interested to see what they do. Skipping way to the end, what if they do Venom?
Sorry about that.
In the MCU, it's definitely interesting, to say the least. But yeah, that I feel like as a Harry Potter fan, I feel like in terms of magic goes, is like if the story works, then I'll let you get by, because like some of the magic is a little bit like, wait a second, why does this work and this doesn't, and yada yada yada. But it's like the story works so well, and I love the idea, and we can maybe go into this more, of the conflict that Peter finds himself in between Aunt May and Doctor Strange, and that Aunt May is like, you got to protect these people and help these people, and Doctor Strange is like, no, their death and their sacrifice is part of the plan.
And then she dies saying the infamous last line.
Yeah. And so I kind of like the idea, like, are heroes destined to defeat their villains in all stories? And I think that's mirrored in the visuals of the Mirror Dimension fight, where you have the New York skyline interwoven with like the Grand Canyon and the Old West, which to me evokes like classic Western stories, which a lot of good and evil stories come from. And so it's like this generational thing of like good and evil always destined to turn a certain way. And Peter's like, well, does it have to be? Do the villains always have to die? Do the villains always have to lose? Or can we all win together? And so, yes, the magic doesn't make sense of why is Willem pulled here and why is Doc Ock pulled here, but I'll allow it because you have a movie with Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina, and you're doing things thematically that are interesting. So that's my thing with the magic.
I also realized as I was watching this and having this conversation that the MCU is not the only spider thing that does killing all the villains. As we've now learned, with all of the villains from the past spider movies have died.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
Well,
something to mention.
Vulture is still alive.
Yeah.
It should be noted. And I'm interested, like, will this next Holland trilogy that we're most likely getting, will they do the Sinister Six? They obviously probably, I don't see them doing their own versions of Doc Ock and Green Goblin. I feel like these are the definitive versions, especially now within the MCU. But Vulture could return and be in that Sinister Six. So, but Mysterio seems is dead, which was surprising. I thought he would pop out. at the
He's
last minute.
Mysterio. He can't
No.
die. We need a fishbowl Jake Gyllenhaal.
I will say though, and maybe we can talk about the women of the Spider-Man, but I think Mysterio coming back to life would kind of negate a lot of this movie, because I think
Yeah.
the whole point is that he dies. And that was why I'm glad I didn't bet Jack any money, because I bet that Kirsten Dunst would be in the movie. But I think it works because if Kirsten Dunst is in the movie, then Emma Stone has to be in the movie. And if Emma Stone was in the movie, then Andrew Garfield's arc would be completely irrelevant. She couldn't be in the movie for Andrew Garfield's arc to work. And so, again, I feel like Mysterio, I think, needs to stay dead, and I'm glad the women weren't in the movie as much as I love those characters and actors.
When Andrew Garfield caught Zendaya.
His face.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. I was gonna start crying right there.
I just want to mention I really like that MJ is MJ Watson. That was really surprising. And from the beginning, like back in Homecoming, that was a weird like pet peeve I had about the movie, is that like, why isn't she just Mary Jane Watson instead of like, I don't know. I thought it was like a weird choice for them to just create, like, I get like that she can grow into the character, but like, I don't know. It was just the way that her character has progressed. I mean, there's been a lot of progression there, but it's just been like a weird choice throughout. Like, I felt like they could have like handled that a lot better. Because I think Zendaya is a phenomenal actress. I mean, if anybody's seen Euphoria, she's amazing. I don't think she was utilized as well in this movie. I think she's really good in the movie, but I just think like based on her acting capabilities, I think there could have been a little more room for her to really, I don't know, have a stronger performance, I guess. But again, like, this is Peter Parker's movie. And I do like, yeah, and Antony, like you were talking about earlier, yeah, I like the fact that this was all about the MCU Peter Parker, and even at the point where the three Spider-Men like team up, and I know somebody had mentioned like, oh, you know, Tobey Maguire should have been Spider-Man #1, and I like the fact that Tom Holland was Spider-Man #1 because this is his movie, and
It's
you know
his
that
movie.
he's in charge, he's leading the way. So I like very much that he took on that responsibility, and then you see that, like, you definitely see this arc. I mean, I feel like at the end of this movie, Spider-Man is definitely a lot. I feel like a lot of people that have been complaining about the MCU Spider-Man can finally shut up, because I feel like this is definitely like a
Sorry.
Spider-Man that we recognize a little better. So,
Well,
I mean,
he is Spider-Man, and I don't know if this was always the plan, but I saw this idea around Twitter, and the idea these three movies, this home trilogy, was his origin. And I don't know if that was the plan, but as is, it works pretty well as his origin.
I don't know. I still have some problems with that as well, because okay, I just want to.
And tangent time.
I personally feel that they didn't need to kill Aunt May. I was kind of upset that I mean, you're supposed to be upset when she died, but I feel like that, first of all, that's just such a waste of Marissa Tomei.
Literally.
And I understand for his character and his growth and everything that that's something he has to overcome in order to, to become the Spider-Man that we see at the very end of the movie. But having said that, I mean, if we're going to assume, I mean, I assumed that he's already gone through like the Uncle Ben arc and the death of that character and growing from that. So I thought that had already happened to our MCU Spider-Man. But then when you hear the conversations between Toby and Andrew and Peter, Andrew and Toby, see, I'm like reading way too much into this, but like, I don't know, just as a big fan, like I kind of wish, because Andrew and Toby, they both talked about Uncle Ben and how he was the one that said, with great power comes great responsibility. And then in the MCU, I guess Aunt May says that, but I don't know. I kind of wish there was like more of like a connective line. I wish Peter Parker would say something about Uncle Ben, because we have no idea who this character was, if this character was even there in the first place.
Definitely was there. Because
in
Far From Home, the initials say BFB.
Right.
In Homecoming, he tells Ned, I can't tell her about my identity. She would freak out. I mean, after all she's been through these past couple of years.
Yeah.
So he definitely exists. Existed. I don't know. I feel like for me, Aunt May has always been the most underrated character in the Spider-Man mythos, because she's such an important character. Like my favorite moment, used to be my favorite Spider-Man movie moment, period, was Aunt May's monologue in the second Spider-Man Raimi movie, where she's talking to Tobey Maguire about what a hero is. Because I feel like Aunt May is the center. You never saw an Aunt May character in these type of fantasy stories. And like making sure he got home in time for dinner with Aunt May was just as important as defeating the Vulture. Yep. And so I like that the movie pays homage and honors the legacy of that character and gives that character a dignity that she never really had. Like she was never that important to the narrative before. And I think Marissa Tomei's monologue, her speech was so heartbreaking. And then the fact that she has as much of importance as Uncle Ben has always had. I like that, because I like that it gives Tom Holland a unique stamp on the character while also honoring the core staples of the character. And I think Marissa Tomei did a great job with her death scene, which I knew going in. I saw a comment section say, Green Goblin kills Aunt May, and it didn't matter. The scene was so well done, and her speech, line for line, reading the comics, with great power there must also come great responsibility. It was really, really well done.
That part wasn't spoiled to me, so I had no idea that they were gonna kill her off. If I was put money on someone that was gonna be killed off, I thought it was gonna be Happy or even Ned. I thought Ned could have.
Ned's got magic though. They can't kill some new magic baby.
Ned's gonna be the Hobgoblin, right?
Well, exactly. I would have preferred that, honestly. I mean, I think Anthony, I agree. I think she did a great job in the scene. It was heartbreaking. It was everything it was supposed to be. But I think you could have had that same those same character moments without killing her. And I think there's so much potential for her in the future, like with the Feast organization and everything. We're not going to see that with Aunt May. So it's kind of, I don't know. I just thought it was unnecessary.
Just think about how much time, it didn't feel like it was that important, but usually we got I think Uncle Ben in the first Tobey Maguire movie dies at the 30-minute mark, maybe the 40-minute mark. Martin Sheen dies at the 45-minute mark. Damn, of the first movie. Aunt May, Marissa Tomei was in Civil War, Homecoming, a brief cameo in Endgame, and The Funeral, and then Far From Home. So we've gotten accustomed to her. And even though my biggest qualms with these movies in the past have not been using Marissa Tomei, I thought this one did, only to kill her. But still, I think it was nice because it came out of nowhere, and thus the audience was as shocked by the death as Peter would be in the past when Uncle Ben died. So I think they were able to do that effectively, at least for me. I think it worked.
I don't like orphaning the boy.
You gotta orphan.
That's what happens to superheroes.
Yeah, you gotta orphan the boy.
But again, he already is an orphan, and then he got adopted by his uncle and then his aunt. Now they're both dead too. It's why?
He's double orphaned.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this too. Yeah. So
yes, Constance.
I don't know if that was spoiled on the internet because I didn't see it. So for instance, when Toby and Andrew show up, I was like, oh yeah, here they are. I didn't have there were people in my audience. I'm like, oh, you're not on the internet. You're so smart.
Know, right?
So when that happened, I was like, no, I'm like, they're not going to do, are they doing this? So I finally had a moment where I was like, and I wanted that. I want that from my movies. I see where Kyle's coming from, but what I think is important about it, the one point that Antony brought up is we've had all this time with her. It isn't like we're introduce her just so she can die. We've done the Uncle Ben thing a lot, and we've done the dead girlfriend thing. So I thought it was a nice like, oh, this Spider-Man, how are you going to keep it fresh? Because we're doing Spider-Man again. Oh, we've never killed Aunt May before in movies, you know, so I welcome it just because it did come out of nowhere, and because they didn't do it in the first movie, because a lot of these, you know, like Bruce Wayne, we have to watch the parents die over and over again, you know,
Those
especially
pearls
in
have
the
got a
first
break.
one. Yeah. So I like that it was done in the third movie, you know, just where it's placed, how it's done. And the fact that that was not spoiled for me. I mean, I thought that all that was great. But you bring up good points, Kyle. It's not like those don't exist. I'm like, no, he has a good point. I can't help but focus on what I think it did for the movie as opposed to how it hindered it. That's all.
True.
Yeah. Can we talk about the fact that like Aunt May in the comics was like gravely ill for 30 years, and yet the youngest Aunt May by a country mile is the one that dies?
Exactly.
With each Aunt May, she just gets younger and younger.
Yeah,
The
Toby
yesification.
gets, I mean,
of
Peter
Aunt
gets
May.
younger.
that's true.
Yeah.
But and also I think as far as the ending goes, the fact that he's alone, nobody knows who Peter Parker is, which we'll get to the ending, and that suit. Well, we can talk about it now. That suit. Oh my God! Not only do I
He
love
looks so shiny.
so shiny. Not only do I love that it's canonical that he based his costume off of Toby and Andrew, but I've been waiting for a great Tom Holland suit that looks great, especially when you watch the third act and you see how good the Toby and Andrew suits look. And you're like, come on, Tom, come on. And he gets that great suit. He makes it himself, flying through the snow. It looks so good. And I think he needs to be alone. And so again, I think the Aunt May thing works well, especially back to the Green Goblin thing. When he picks up the same glider that impaled Aunt May to kill Norman, who Aunt May was sticking out for, like, again, another thematic beat that just brings everything together at the end.
Oh yeah, I have a question about this. You just reminded me of something, Antony.
Mhm.
I thought the other reason they killed her is I haven't been following. I've been trying to avoid things, so that includes the future. Is it also possible that they're trying to remove everyone in case Sony completely steals him away? That if he's in Sony movies, that explains why. Where's Ned? Where's MJ? Where's, you know? It's like, but he's over in our camp now, so we're going to do what we want, and we don't have a contract with those actors, so that explains why they're not here. Is that part of the reason, maybe?
I
Past them.
didn't see that. I mean, honestly, if I'm Sony looking at the second highest grossing opening weekend of all time, I would keep to Marvel. I would glue myself to Kevin Feige's hat. I just like why you would want to leave now.
Because I thought Disney was just borrowing him, and I was like, okay, you're gonna get your 3 movies, but then we're gonna take him back. So I thought that was part of the reason why, but I don't know how contracts and all that works. I didn't know if that was a possibility.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be, but I don't think. I honestly think that Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige get on enough. They're going to get on very much with all the money this is making. Like I think that's why, you know, we've seen a lot of talk about Andrew Garfield, which we've been skirting around the topic. We should bring up the 2 of them eventually.
Please.
In full. But I think we've seen a lot of people like Andrew Garfield versus Venom, Amazing Spider-Man 3, you know, which I don't know if we'll see. You know, it may occupy the same place as the Ayer cut, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see. I think the future for Spidey looks strong with Across the Spider-Verse parts 1 and 2, with a Venom 3 most likely. Craven, I think, is supposed to come out with Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then of course the Holland new trilogy, which I can't imagine anybody going into the next Spider-Man Tom Holland movie and not being excited.
My favorite thing about Spider-Verse is that the second, like, even that little teaser dropped, everyone on the internet was like, wow, I feel so bad for Far From Home because they got the multiverse movie before it even came out. But now I'm just as excited for Spider-Verse. Like, yeah. Okay. Yes.
So should we talk about the 2 other Spider-Men in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
So, not really a spoiler. I mean, I think we knew since day one.
Yeah.
Stuff from Lena, Willem Dafoe, and Jamie Foxx and all that. But yes, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie. A lot longer than I expected. I thought they were just going to be part of the climax, but no, they're like in the start of
They come in with an hour to go in the movie, including credits.
Right. And I thought they were going to have like they were just going to be there just to fight off the foes, but no, they were like they played an important role, like making the cures for all the 5 villains, which I thought that was great.
Little mermaid
Toby,
boys.
Andrew, and Tom each had banters, which I love. Or
I
those
always
fan
wanted
service questions.
brothers.
like the web fluids.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was good. Yeah.
I thought I was dreaming. I was like, I've had this dream.
I
I've totally
know.
been like, you can't do that.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my god.
Very fan service, but like I'm not complaining.
No.
Let me be
This was
service.
done
Where are the
well.
hands?
It was done well. It didn't have this throwaway, you pop in, you do a little ha, and then you leave. It felt like it had some time. It felt like people who actually know what Spider-Man is, gives a shit, said, no, we got to do it like this because this is how a fan would want it. So
Right.
that's how you do it.
Well, I feel like Joseph alluded to this, I was figuring that it was going to be like Portals and Endgame, that they were going to come in mid-fight, third act, and that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
But they all got like mini arcs, and I like what they did with Tom Holland being like, all right, where he's at now, Aunt May is dead. He can either become Andrew Garfield, who has not grown beyond his mistake and his grief, and has been that wonderful monologue that Andrew Garfield gives about like, I became rageful and bitter. Or it can be like Toby, who's already solved that, and he's learned to move beyond it and accept it. And that's why I think it's brilliant that Toby's the one to like stop him when he has the glider with Goblin, be like, this is not gonna help. Almost as if Tom is looking at a reflection of his future self, telling him this will not solve everything. So
Right.
I like that it wasn't just they're here, yay, we're happy. Each of them, I think, have an important role in the journey that Tom Holland takes, as well as their own journeys that I think were well interwoven.
I'm so sorry to my wife listening, but I do have to bring up Hannah.
Hannah, I feel really lucky for her. 'Cause she ended up doing a rewatch of all of the Spider movies beforehand. And so I haven't done that. And like, not gonna lie, going in and as I was watching it, it took a minute for me to like remember all of the circumstances for everything. Especially when Lizard showed up, whenever he was there, I was like, I don't remember this at all. But yeah, you guys should do a rewatch. Highly recommend, because you won't get like, you won't be confused or lost or anything, but like it'd be nice because
Yeah. I mean, they remind you. They bring up
Yeah.
Eagles like 4 times in the movie.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried about that too because I took my 11-year-old and she hasn't seen any of the other. She's seen Into the Spider-Verse and the other Tom Holland ones. We just haven't gotten to the Toby and Andrew. I just haven't thought to go there. And I asked her afterward. I'm like, okay, was that easy to follow? Are you lost? Do you have questions? And she's like, no. Like she
I got it.
she's like, I
She's a
got
smart
it.
girl.
Yeah. They told me the bits I needed to know. So I don't think a layman could go in and be lost. I do think they do a good job of being like, this is why this is important. This is who this guy is. Let me tell you these things. It was exposition-y, but not overtly so.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. I think again, I'll say that like I kind of wish that we knew more about the characters as they like grew in real time and everything, because they were very vague about it, and obviously, and I think that was on purpose. But I mean, I really like just their little interactions with each other. I mean, Andrew Garfield cracking Toby's back.
Peter 3.
Peter 3, yeah. And I love the like little
Andrew's so
conversation they
good.
had where Tom Holland was like, so who are like the most badass villains you guys have ever fought? And they were comparing villains, and then Andrew's like, oh, I'm so lame, like all I fought was like a metal rhino. And then
No, a Russian metal rhino.
and Toby's like, hey, you were amazing.
not-
And he kept telling him you're so like, just that stuff was great. Like, I don't know, again, it's like so fan servicing. It felt like really meta just in terms of like, oh, we're just watching Toby and Andrew and Tom Holland just talk about being Spider-Man. But like, I mean, that's what you want to see. Like we've all wanted to see that for a long time. So it was really great.
In
Yeah.
that same conversation, where Toby was like, oh yeah, I fought an alien. And then Tom was like, oh yeah, I fought an alien. And then I fought an alien in space. And then Toby was like, you fought an alien
Wait, you
and
were
an
in
alien
space?
in space.
Oh, one of my favorite things is when they're talking about like The Avengers. That's so cool.
Is
What
it?
is that?
What is that?
And then Tom Holland starts to describe it, and Toby gives one of my favorite line readings where he just goes, "How is this helping?" It's so
It's so good.
like I don't think it's mentioned. Tobey Maguire's last on-screen role was 2014, the same year as Amazing Spider-Man 2. So he hasn't been acting a lot, and he just stepped right back into this movie and did a really great job.
I disagree.
He was awkward,
Oh my
but he's
God.
always been awkward.
Well,
He was- I don't know.
Boss Baby, Anthony.
He was
We don't
Boss
talk about
Baby.
that.
Yeah,
Well, that
I don't
was
wanna-
a voiceover role.
We
The
don't
Boss
talk about
Baby is
voiceover.
not live action, thank goodness.
I felt like Toby was a little less Peter Parkery than I remember him personally. I think Andrew did, I guess, a better job. But again, I like the interactions were so good. I don't want to complain about it because what we got was just awesome. So I mean, I have like little things here and there where I'm like, it could have been better, but I mean, we got 3 Spider-Man in a movie.
What more could
So,
you ask for?
Right.
Yeah.
Miles, that's it.
I agree with you
Miles.
that I think Andrew, it was an easier job for him, but I also think he's dealing with a 7-year removal against a 14-year removal with Toby.
Yeah.
And Andrew is supposed to be at the same place that he was at the end when Gwen died, where Toby
Right.
is supposed to have moved on and changed. It's kind of like with the sequel trilogy, it's like, well, these characters aren't the same. Well, it's like, well, they've grown and it's been 30 years. So they aren't the same people they were when they were kids. I feel like I agree with you, but I think that's the point. At least it
There's
became
a
more
line,
clear.
when they're in the lab, when Toby asks, "Do you have a girl? You have an MJ yourself?" And he's like, "No, I just haven't." So that means Andrew Garfield has not met. Supposedly, Shailene Woodley was supposed to be his MJ.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that we never.
Yeah, see, that stuff was weird to me. I don't know. Because so Anthony, you're saying that this Andrew Garfield has come right out of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I think he's had years of being upset with Gwen and not being able to process everything because he's alone. All he has is Sally Fields, Aunt May, and I'm pretty sure he hasn't told her about being Spider-Man, which means she can't help him. So I think where Tobey Maguire post James Franco's death and the fact that he got together probably with MJ has moved on and grown and learned to process everything. Garfield, I don't think has, because the only person he could probably do that with is Emma Stone, who died.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Andrew Garfield is around the same area that he was. Also, Andrew Garfield does not age, so he also looks the same. Tobey Maguire, again, 14 years, he's grown a little, so he doesn't look the same.
Let's talk about that real quick. When I saw the trailer and they de-aged, Alfred Molina, which they should, I got nervous because we didn't see a single frame of Toby. I was like, please don't de-age him. That'll look weird. I'm so glad they didn't try to do the whole, oh yeah, no, it's 2004 or 5, whenever. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't even try to pretend he was still that age. I think that was a very good choice. So
Right. Just one last thing that I wanted to bring up about the Toby and Andrew is I was expecting like an interaction between Toby and both Jameson because they are the same in both universes. So I was expecting something between them. And then also, I don't think we actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we actually got an interaction between Toby and Willem Dafoe other than getting stabbed. I don't think they ever talked to each other.
They don't.
He talked to Otto. They had
Otto.
like a little like reunion, but there was never anything, which I thought was weird. But maybe they had scheduled conflicts or something. So
I had a brief talk with Flint, Sandman.
yeah. So I thought it was weird that he didn't talk to Green Goblin at all, especially after he was like cured.
I think it would have felt awkward if like after, because I think if I'm remembering the movie correctly, Toby gets stabbed, which I don't know about you. Every audience I've seen with gasps at that moment, the same way they felt when Tony got stabbed by Thanos in Infinity War. And then what I think Toby or Tom, something happens. Like I feel like it would have felt odd if in this moment when Tom's realizing he has to like stop the Doctor Strange spell, that like Toby just turns to the guy who just stabbed me like, hey, how you doing, man? Like, I think it would have felt a little.
Missed you, buddy. Look at you, breathing.
I don't know, but they were all there. Like you see Norman Osborn in the background, like cured, and he's just like He's just like hunched over. He's just like looking off into the ocean or whatever. And then Toby and Andrew are in the foreground. So again, like I feel like that was just something like where they probably couldn't be on set the same day or something. And I don't know.
True.
But I'm with you, Kyle, on the Jameson thing, because I was like,
Yeah.
why is it when they open a portal and pull in another Peter, they don't look like Tom Holland? I was like, oh, I've got it. J. Jonah Jameson is a Nexus being. That's the only explanation as to why he's the same person.
A multiversal singularity. He's the same because we
Yes.
don't see him in Amazing Spider-Man. We get an email about J. Jonah Jameson, but we don't see him. So I like to imagine that J.K. Simmons is the one person who's the exact same.
J.K.
Nexus
Simmons
being.
is the
Him and
Rosario
Wanda
Dawson of the
are gonna have
Spider
a thing.
People.
Because she's a Nexus being. So it's like,
Yeah.
he's important.
Which, can we just? I found that to be a really subtle and poignant thing, like with how J. Jonah Jameson is used, because at the beginning they have that great gag of it's
With the green screen.
in his living room, and then they go on and like by the Otto Doc Ock fight, he has a helicopter and he has a big studio.
He's
and
thriving. He got. Look at
in
him.
the same, yeah, and I feel like that's kind of subtly saying how like a lot of people, especially today, news media will kind of create success for themselves based like on the backs of the innocent. And I
On other
like,
people's like tragedy, basically.
yeah, and like the supplement gag, which I think is
Yeah.
a direct like relation to Alex Jones too. I think they were kind of just basically doing that. So I thought that was a nice little flourish of like how like people, whether they're doing the right thing or not, like tragedy, as Kyle said, can be abused by those in the media and sensationalized and gives them rewards for it. I thought J. Jonah Jameson was used really well here.
Nice.
So did
Can
we
we
go
talk
over?
about-
Did we go over everything? We went up.
We
talked
need-
about Toby and
No.
Andrew.
We have to talk about Doctor Strange for just a minute.
Oh, I want to talk about Alfred Molina. Wrong doctor.
I'm very upset that Spider-Man was able to defeat him. I understand why, because math. I get it. But I'm a Doctor Strange fan, so I'm like, no way. No way. But it's because this is Spider-Man's movie. It's kind of like how people did not accept that Cap was able to beat Iron Man. I was like, it's because it's called Captain America.
Captain America Civil
It's
War.
literally because he's on the
But
title.
I have a problem with that. I understand it. The story needed that to happen, but I'm so angry. I'm not a fan of that part.
I mean, I will say that I think Spider-Man cares more about saving the villains than Doctor Strange does about sending them home. So maybe it was just passion that in that fight, it mattered more to Peter that he win, and Doctor Strange wasn't really trying
Yeah.
because he didn't think he needed to try.
He was
'Cause
like,
in the
I got
comic-
it. You're
yeah.
just some freaking kid.
Yeah, because in the comics,
I'll magic you
Spider-Man
ass.
is as strong as the Hulk, so he's a deceptively strong character, and he's also smart. So, but I understand as a Doctor, but you were rewarded with that amazing end credit scene.
Yes.
Which was just a teaser.
Which,
I have mixed feelings about that.
What? Put
Yeah,
in
I
the
was
trailer
all
at the end of the
good for
movie?
The teaser for Mom. I was really confused. I was watching that and I was like, what the fuck is happening? This is how it usually goes.
On that note,
I
we gotta
was
see Wanda
I
again.
was surprised.
Wanda
I
after
was
WandaVision.
surprised.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the first time since Captain America: The First Avenger that the end credit scene is just a trailer for the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which it was great. I love that we ended the Spider-Man movie that reunited Tobey Maguire with a Sam Raimi teaser. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic.
That's hilarious.
Does-
Wait, guys.
Does that
can we
cover
finish?
Natalia wants to talk about Alfred Molina.
I want to talk about Alfred Molina.
Don't forget.
He
Go
was
ahead.
great. He stole all the scenes. Not really. No, that was Willem. It was Willem
Well,
Willem-
Tom Holland. Tom Holland
no.
Yeah.
is great.
Tom Holland.
Willem, Antony, Alfred.
Who is in the middle?
Andrew. Why did I
I thought
say
you-
Anthony? Because you spoke.
I was like, I'm in the movie? Really?
Of course you are.
I loved Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. He was great. He was really
His
you
Doc
could
Ock.
I could feel all of his
Oh.
just he just sounded so like when he was talking about when he kept talking about Willem, I'm just gonna keep calling them by their names. And he was like, oh, he died, and he just sounded so solemn. And then when he showed up, he was like, you're a ghost. This can't be real. It was
I'm
just
tired of your questions, boy.
boy. Love it.
And he called them monsters. He's like, "You watch your mouth."
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Also, I haven't been watching the trailer. I did not know he was de-aged. That VFX was flawless.
Yeah.
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 All visual effects for this movie, I thought were really well done.
Quite good.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
As much as I love Black Widow, there's no Yelena moment.
Mhm.
And the jump after. Oh, so sad.
I feel like there was one more rant that I wanted to go on. Basically,
Go for
just
it.
I guess just like I guess the storyline about curing all of the villains, I thought was I don't know, like it makes sense for Alfred Molina's character because he's his mind is being manipulated by the tentacles or whatever. So that made sense. But I felt like, you know, the first time I watched it, I did kind of I was like, oh, that, I mean, you know, I don't think villains are villainous because of their powers or the special abilities they have. I'm sure like that's enhanced
Insert
by what they
allegory
have.
for disability here.
Right. So yeah, I thought it was, I mean, basically, so taking away that is all it takes for them to, you know, be rehabilitated was a little bit of a stretch for me. So the first time I did watch that, like, I felt a little, I mean, I guess just to say, like, the second time I watched it last night, I felt a little better about it because I think that, like, that speaks so much to Peter Parker's characters. He was just trying to help the entire time. And I did like that all three of the Peters kind of had that same mentality. And even Tobey Maguire, he's like, that's just what we do. We cure them. And and Michelle, she's like, we're going to kick some ass. Then Toby's like, cure. We're going to cure some ass. And that's great. Like, I guess I felt better about that the second time, just because that is so Peter Parker. And again, like, I think the, you know, the way that this movie ends is I'm just so excited because it is finally like a Peter Parker that, you know, that we're a little more used to, because, you know, there's been a lot of people comparing him to Iron Man sidekick and everything, which is valid to an extent. But yeah, I think we finally see like the definitive Peter Parker that we've been wanting to see. So yeah, I'm very excited for the next chapter of this story.
Can we acknowledge the fact that the movie itself calls out Iron Man Jr.? Like,
yeah, in the beginning.
In the Time magazine. Also, there's a funny gag, if you catch it, the People magazine is Liz Toon, Laura Harrier's character from Homecoming, saying like he lies or something along those lines. Like she did an exclusive talking about Peter, which I thought was funny. Kyle, I agree with you. I think in most cases that the villains, like, if you cure them, that would solve why they're villainous is probably not true. But I think in terms of these villains, it was the Green Goblin, like the gas that turned Willem truly villainous. I think the same with the tentacles. With Sandman, he became a villain, not just somebody who was misunderstood with the whole collider mishap. Electro with the eels, Lizard with so I feel like with these 5 villains specifically, if they weren't the monsters of their own making, I do think they would return to their selves at the beginning of each of their narratives. And I like the fact that a superhero movie is all about saving people. Like, I thought that was like, not enough superhero movies do that. That it's like, our primary focus is to save people. And the fact that they're saving the villains, I thought was a nice touch.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. Like, I didn't like the Cure storyline at first either. But more from a structure standpoint, I'm like, oh, because a movie's only so long. If you want it to be this length, then you're at the mercy of time. I'm like, well, sure, with a longer movie, or if this was a miniseries, you would have time to feel. I didn't like how Russia was like, oh, well, if it's that easy to cure them.
Right.
But I was like, no, this is probably not being told in real time. It probably took longer than it looked. They just had to cut it in a way where it's like, yeah, but we got to get to it. We can't really just show you just them sitting in the lab going, okay, we're just waiting for this to spin, you know, like. So it just, that part felt very clippy. And I was like, no, I wish that felt longer. Like, oh no, it was hard to put that together. We couldn't just do it just because we had some Stark tech laying around, you know.
Mhm.
So I'm with you on that. But like Antony says, if it serves the theme, if it serves the story, it's easy to be forgiving. You're like, okay, but since this is about who the essence of Peter, who he is, it's forgivable. But it's not like I'm blindly going, oh no, it's all great. I'm like, no. If you want to split hairs, you can be like, okay, that looked a little rushed, but it's
Right.
the mercy of the movie. It's not really the movie's fault. So
Well, like we've never seen like one of these big event movies that singularly have like a protagonist at its center, like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. They all have like it's a group, it's an ensemble. Maybe you have three protagonists, but with this, it was like Tom Holland's clearly the focus, and that took a little bit of getting used to because I'm not used to that type of form with these big movies. I think we should mention a couple people. Mauro Fiore, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, is the director of photography. I thought some of the cinematography here was really well done. The sunset shot, the rain shot.
the electro fight,
Yeah. Oh my God, that shot of when Electra just started coming together was really great.
Where he's swinging through the telephone towers. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And the snow. Oh my God. The Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, who were the writers, who I think, again, like Marcus and McFeely before them, did a great job of balancing comics, narrative, all of the things, paying homage to the past while being focused in the present. And then Michael Giacchino, who wrote the score. I would probably say this is his best score since Inside Out or Up. I thought his score was so good here.
The score was great.
Yeah.
The last few Marvel movies to come out, they've had banger scores. This one, Shang-Chi, was great. I thought Black Widow's score was great as well.
Lauren Balfe, yeah. They've been great. Especially I would equate the final crescendo of Dune to the final crescendo of No Way Home. Just that hearing his theme one last time as he's swinging through the snow. It's just like, I was like, that is Spider-Man. It just felt so good.
Yep. I don't know if it feels like we're about to wrap up, but like, I don't know, because I kind of wanted to talk about like, so do we have any expectations for like this new trilogy coming up for Spider-Man?
Tommy Part 2.
Other him like being on his own. I want to see his life like in college and
Peter.
with the fact that
what do we think of Zendaya and Jacob Batalon? Do we think they'll be in the next trilogy? Do we think they're just going to let them be?
I hope so, because I know some people do not like Ned, but I do like Ned. He's the comic relief. He's like there to have a joke.
And now he has magic. Well, no, not anymore.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fact that Jacob, what's his name? Jacob
Batalon.
Jacob Batalon lost a ton of weight, but they didn't really show it in this movie.
Interesting.
I didn't notice.
His contract, he had to keep the weight for the character. I mean, the movies take place back to back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That's true.
But they said like he lost weight for this movie, but
Anyway, what were you gonna say, Kyle?
I was just I guess for like the future of Spider-Man, I especially like what Andrew Garfield's movies did, but I think that they were the most like true to the comics in terms of, I feel like I've talked about this before, but like I just like him having the relationship with Gwen Stacy, and then eventually they were supposed to do Mary Jane and everything. So I was kind of wondering, like, are they going to try to do that with this new trilogy? Are they going to introduce, Tom Holland's Gwen Stacy, or are they going to introduce like who I'd like to see, Felicia Hardy as Black Cat, which would be cool.
I would love to see Black Cat. Too bad.
I think she's for sure coming.
Yeah.
She's for sure showing up at some point, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I like the fresh start for Spider-Man. And yeah, I think for sure MJ is gonna be there. I don't know. I would like to see them. There's so much they can do. I mean, Ned in the comics, he ends up working at the Daily Bugle, sorry, the Daily Bugle, and
Multiverse colliding.
Crossover.
and so does like Betty Brant, who's a very, popular character in the comics as well. So I feel like,
But she
I don't
works at least
yeah, so I could,
she works for the TikTok of the Daily Bugle.
right. So I
okay.
could see that, there could be a future with her working for Jameson or something. I don't know. Like there's, and then there's like the Venom goop at the very end in the end credits scene. So I mean that might be a tease for a new villain. But we also got that in Homecoming too with Scorpion, and we haven't seen him since. So
right.
Well, maybe now.
I feel like this trilogy has been, just in terms of like the grand planning of it, it's been very like
Wonky.
up and down and very bumpy. So I hope that this new trilogy has a little more of like a streamlined kind of like an idea that they want to go with, because I feel like they've had so many different ideas that have been like conflicting and everything. And we finally got to this point where they kind of had to like reboot the character almost. So
well, it doesn't help that you had Infinity War and Endgame in between these. Homecoming and Far From Home. It's like you have to deal with that. I mean, we also got to remember, like a month after Far From Home, Sony took back Spider-Man's custody for like a month.
This
movie might
that was a time.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I think again, after the success, I think they'll be set for the next story. I would love to see them. It doesn't have to be the same 6 members, but I would love to see a Sinister Six movie be built for this trilogy. We get a little bit maybe in the next 3.
Vulture, maybe get the Scorpion that was just there. What do you
Craven.
think is going to up with it, Morbius? Do you
They
think?
don't know.
No one
I think
knows.
they're just making it up as they go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's very much
None of
how
this
it
is
feels.
felt planned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm interested to see if they'll do Gwen, because I think Andrew and Emma did such a great job with it, and it's such an iconic.
They were
sort of-
so good.
Also, because like putting Gwen Stacy in a movie is like giving a character a death sentence from frame 1. Like what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a different universe. I don't know. I mean,
It's like really
Maybe this time he'll catch her.
like second to Uncle Ben and the Waynes. I feel like Gwen Stacy is like the next person who like she always dies.
I
Except
don't
if
know.
it
I mean,
was
we got
Dallas
Gwen
Howard.
Stacy in the Toby movies too, and she didn't die.
She could have died in Spider-Man 4. Remember, they were planning a 4th one.
Well, you could say that about anything, really. I mean,
I know, but I just think she wasn't really a character.
Don't be a dick.
She felt in that movie what Daredevil feels in this movie. Like they just put her in there for a little bit. Like she didn't really have much to do.
Say that about Charlie.
Yeah, relax there. I mean, I'd be interested to see what they would do. Either Gwen or Felicia Hardy or yeah, I mean, they did that with the animated series too. And then also to bring up another great animated Spider-Man series, Spectacular Spider-Man. I don't know how you can watch it because it's not on Disney Plus, because it was like more of a Sony property before Marvel acquired it. I mean, before Disney acquired it. So if you can figure out a way to watch Spectacular Spider-Man, I think it is the best version of Spider-Man that's ever been told on either TV or the screen or whatever. Outside of the comics. Because Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy started as best friends, and he meets Mary Jane, and then they're weird like rivals / friends / enemies. And then, I just really like the progression of the character that way. So if it was like a perfect world, I would love to see the next trilogy kind of embody something like that, just where I think Spider-Man works best as a TV series. I think, maybe it might not have the big budget of the movie, but I think as a character, he's such a good character. I would love to see a good TV series about Spider-Man with Tom Holland.
Year, Disney Plus.
Right. Better see Uncle Ben, see what happened to Uncle Ben, because I'm tired of asking questions. Because we didn't even see his grave next to Aunt May. Like, why are you hiding Uncle Ben?
True.
Good point.
They
also need to start doing Miles Morales. That needs to start. Like, they've hinted at it, so I'm like, okay, let's go. Come on.
That's another line that I liked from Jamie Foxx, where he was like, "So you're some poor kid from Queens,
Who
I
called
thought
for
you'd be
four.
black.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, man.
Remember, Donald
Yeah,
Glover.
can't do anything about that.
He's supposed to be the Prowler. in
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Wait, say that
That's what I'm
again?
saying. They're
Childish
teasing it. I'm
Gambino.
like, stop teasing and just get to it. It's
Exactly.
like, okay, we've had the foreplay. Let's just go. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Um,
final thing I'll say for the next trilogy is I want to see a Spider-Man and Daredevil team up.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds good.
I will say too, like, I don't think as much as this ending like puts Spider-Man on his own path, I don't think this means that like he's divorced from ever mentioning or cooperating with MCU characters. It's because I feel like we're not talking about that, and I still think like I feel like Florence Pugh Yelena could come in. You know, they're both Black Widow and the Spider. Like, I feel like that would be a fun team up, and maybe that, you know, trade in one blonde for another, and we get Yelena instead of Gwen. I would say as far as existing MCU characters, that would be one of the few. I mean, put Yelena in everything, in my opinion. She's so good. If you haven't seen Hawkeye, check her out in that
Watch
latest
it.
episode. But yeah, I think, I'll just give my last final thoughts on the movie overall. I just think to be a part of this movie-going experience this weekend was a true joy. I mean, to sit in that theater with so many different audiences and just see people get so passionate about this. I mean, one of my favorite quotes of all time is Emma Stone in La La Land saying, people love what other people are passionate about. And I feel like that's what this movie feels to me. You see Tom Holland leading a cast and crew who just have so much passion for Spider-Man and Marvel, and the audience reciprocating that by showing up. And this is not guaranteed. People go into this movie and celebrating this movie. It's never guaranteed. This is what Marvel has created. It makes people excited for storytelling, and to be in the presence of this and in the presence of this passion, I just think is to see what every filmmaker wants to achieve. And so I'm very happy that we have people listening to this, that we were able to talk about this. Thank you, Joseph, and everybody, because it was a special movie. It's a movie I will never forget, and I'm glad that we were able to talk about it here today.
Are you going to see it again?
Yes, I have tickets for Tuesday, Thursday, next Tuesday, and my birthday. So
Oh
at
my
least
Oh
God.
my
one more time.
God.
All with different people, may I add.
Okay.
I think when all is said and done, I will go to this movie twice by myself, but every other time it's been with a different group of people.
Yeah, I'm planning on seeing it again when I'm back home with Hannah.
I'll probably see it again either Christmas or New Year's. That's also a big holidays. Okay. So, yeah,
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Anyone else?
we all liked it, right? We all.
I mean, Antony's just so good at being eloquent.
Antony's really good at wrapping shit up. So
I've been saying it in a loop
Ditto.
in my head for the
Yeah.
whole weekend.
But I do have a tidbit since Destiny's not here. I got to say this for the DC fans. I saw what they did when Flash is like, "Oh yeah, I'm his best friend. You can read my book, Flashpoint." I'm like, "How dare you?"
yeah.
No, they're just. It's like they rub it in your face, like, "Haha, DC, we did this first too." I'm like, I see you, Marvel, Stony. I see
Yeah,
you.
we'll see what the Flash does with their
Oh,
for Batman.
Flash, I'm so sad.
I'm so scared. I have something to say. This is from Jack. He would like to announce that Andrew is and always has been the best Spidey, quote unquote. So don't yell at me if you disagree. Yell
They're
at
all great Spider-Man. They're all
Yeah.
great Spider-Man.
They all bring something different.
They do.
I mean,
If you want to
that's
fight with Jack, you can find him on Twitter, and he
Yeah.
has his own channel, so you can go find him.
Yeah. Don't bring that shit to us,
He
please.
would love to
Thanks.
fight you about that.
Yeah.
I just one last thing. When Toby and Andrew saw each other for the first time, I feel like my heart sunk into my throat, or into my
Right.
stomach. That was such a cool moment that I was in such disbelief of. The whole movie left me in disbelief. I was like, this isn't happening. This isn't
Right.
happening. This isn't happening. And I knew what was happening. I knew the pumpkin bomb was coming, but when I saw it drop on that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, this is an experience I will never forget. And I know you have people like Mark Scorsese saying, "Oh, this isn't cinema," but come on, these are the movies that are bringing us in. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but
In a
I mean, yes, we
pandemic.
have films like Spencer coming
In a
out, or
panorama.
it's already out, or like Don't Look Up on Netflix, or whatever the other indie movies are out there. They just don't. They're not the crowd pleasing movies that like the Marvel movies are. I'm sorry to say.
They have
Everything
different
has a
purposes.
season.
I'm gonna keep quiet.
They have different purposes. You know, I
Yeah.
think if you hold, like, listen, they're great. My favorite movie of the year is Power of the Dog. Also Benedict Cumberbatch. He's having a great year.
Right.
Good
My
for
second
him.
favorite is Spider-Man No Way Home. And I think you can be somebody who sees the purpose in both of them and
Okay.
love them equally. Not every movie needs to be the same thing. Would it be great if people packed in and sold out every screening for the latest Paul Thomas Anderson movie? Of course it would. But to want that and ask why those movies don't get it is ignoring what Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal and all the people have achieved by creating this fandom. I mean, to have a cinematic character and have just a character for 60 plus years, it'll be the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man next year. Like, that is not guaranteed. It's because people love this character and it's unlike anything else. And these movies understand that. And that's why people love it. It resonates with them in such a greater degree. And so, yeah, it's like, listen, cinema can be a multitude of things, but to go into a theater this weekend is to see cinema at one of its highest levels. And the pursuit of cinema, bringing people together.
Pursuit of cinema.
Yeah,
Nice.
Film school here.
Look at you go.
Anthony, I'm going to steal your line. And on that note, Constance, you want to end this vlog? What am I saying? Recording.
It's fine.
All right. So that's it. Everyone feel like they got what they needed to get out.
Everyone say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Hang on. We're not gonna say
Bye.
bye yet. I just want to make sure no one was like, "Hey, one more thing."
Oh God, no.
Okay.
I
So-
think I got everything out. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This was critical of all of us.
All right. Well, how we actually end is thank you for listening. We will be back in the middle of January sometime. We haven't picked a date yet, but you can follow us on Twitter at the Council Pod. And yeah, so we'll see you then. Happy holidays, happy New Year, and we'll see you for season 5 in mid-January. Now we can say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.